Hey, Terry and Matt, thanks for joining me on this.
All right, we're excited. And Terry is still working on pronouncing your name properly.
Yes. We'll try again next year.
Stop sending me calendar invites with a fictitious name.
I'd say nicknames are fine as well. So.
Naeem, where are you giving us this demo from?
I'm in Albania at the moment, in Tirana.
Albania. That is definitely our first demo coming from Albania.
Well, I'm hoping we'll have a first time you guys are visiting as well.
Yeah, right on.
Nice place to be. Very good. So I'll start off and share my screen. Can you see all right?
Yes.
Yep. Excellent. So actually, maybe I should tell you a bit first about the idea behind Zeevou and how we got going and so on. So basically, I come from a service apartment management background myself. As the business was expanding, we struggled with a lot of day-to-day operational processes. Things kept going wrong. People didn't do what they were supposed to do. A lot of things were almost impossible to do properly with technology. A lot of the tech couldn't keep up with scaling beyond the city to multiple countries and so on. And so we kept switching from one system to another. People kept promising things that didn't really happen once you signed up. We waited for a couple of years on some of them and things still didn't improve. So at one point I just decided it's time to get going and do it ourselves. So it's been great for us. We've managed to scale quite a bit. Following that, we went from 50 units to almost hitting 500 by the end of this year. Since we started using the system, we beat that. We launched a year and a half ago, and we'd been using it for about a year before that ourselves. It's been pretty good, work in progress. The idea is now that we're trying to build up a community of hosts who are helping each other to achieve freedom that will enable growth both in their businesses, but also in their personal lives. So people can live life on their own terms and not be subject to the cruelties of certain large multinational companies that like to control our hospitality businesses at times. So that's where we're going. And as part of that, we offer the automation, which is what I'm going to show you some of on the demo now. We've also got the Zeevou Academy, which is a online training setup where we offer various tips and tricks, freebies, webinars with industry-leading experts. And we also encourage our partner hosts to help each other as they grow in their businesses. So we've got a very strong community besides just offering the software. And then one of the things that we pride ourselves most in is also the support that we give. So you get assigned a one-to-one partner success manager who acts as an account manager and is available to chat or jump on calls on an ongoing basis at no extra charge. We've got monthly partner host forums where we get everyone together and we try to get feedback on the latest developments. And we also update people on what we're planning and working on. And we try to sort of gauge interest on different potential avenues of what we could be doing next. And that helps inform our roadmap as well. Okay, so down to the tools that we've developed to help achieve this freedom for people. So as you can see, we've got a dashboard. By the way, one of the reasons I've been hesitating to do this demo with you guys for some time is because we've got a lot of new stuff coming, but I keep waiting for more and more to come out. And I think we just have to bite the bullet at some point. But this is going to look completely different in a couple of months, a lot more colorful with charts and so on and so forth. I'll show you what we've got for now, and then we can catch up maybe at some point. So we've got different widgets that you can drag and drop into place. I've got list of arrivals, housekeeping tasks. I've got a calendar built in, where I can create various events for myself or for other members of the team. I can have them on a repeating basis, one-off basis, include reminders and so on. Up on the top, we've got a multi-organization option. So we also have a multi-brand option that I'll talk about later, but it basically allows you to jump into your own account or someone else's account who has granted you access without having to log in and log out all the time. Up at the top, we've got an Omni Search function, so you can search across, say, guest profiles or communications, bookings, properties, all from one central place. We've got a built-in system to raise a hand, as we call it. So you can either do that if you're encountering a bug or an issue, if you need support with something specific, or if you want to request a specific feature. So we've got the different types here and improvement. And then that feeds straight into the team who look at all the various requests. And then it comes up into our business analysts who then discuss it with the product team on which I sit as well. And that informs our development. So it's very democratic in some ways, the way in which we work on things. And then you've got generic settings up in top there. We've also got the ability to have some widgets on the sidebar here. So you could have sticky notes, for example, to help you keep track of things, just some little things on the side. So always a good question of where to start off with. What I usually like to do is start off with talking a bit about the users and systems of bookings and so on, but perhaps just to make things a bit more colorful, I'll start off from a calendar, a multi-listing calendar, to show you what that looks like, and then I'll move on to the rest. So we've actually got two multi-unit calendars. One is our booking calendar that shows the bookings for the different units within a unit type in a property. And you can see different colors indicating different stages of completion. If I zoom in a bit, will the zoom work? And just to show you what linked bookings, can you see there's a link symbol here? So there's sort of a weekly extended booking that helps with things like invoicing. So the invoicing can be done on a per booking basis with a specific reference per invoice while the booking is still being interlinked in some ways in the system.
What do the different colors mean?
So we've got a legend down here that shows what each one of those means. Is the scale okay, by the way, because my screen's fairly large?
Yes. Yeah, it's perfect.
So you've got sort of checked in, checked out, paid, not paid.
Okay, good.
And then you can also block dates. You can drag and drop to either create a booking or to block dates very easily on the calendar. And you can move bookings around, just struggling to find. So I'd have to change the unit and the dates here. I can override the pricing in the process if I want, and it'll show me what's changed on that booking.
Does that show the lead channel as well?
Yeah, so the channel is shown here on the logo. So this is a
cool.
Club logo. It's our direct bookings. Basically, we run a lot on direct. But you'd have Airbnb if I go into another city, we'll have a bit more choice. And I can also show you what the setup looks like across multiple properties. This was just one block of flats, basically. So one of the interesting things about the system is that it works both for blocks of flats or hotels or guest houses, but also vacation homes scattered around. So here you can see within a city, we've got, this is just a holiday home. This is a guest house. So we've got Cambridge City rooms with 3 room types or unit types, as we call them. So we've got studios, we've got double and single rooms. So you'll see Airbnb, for example, booking.com, whatever this is, hotels.com, showing. And then if I go into a specific booking, I can go straight to edit or view it. We've got this option to unallocate bookings if you're trying to move people around and you need a temporary place to keep them in. So within the booking, we'll have all the information that we've got here on the overview, and also further details and actions that we can undertake.
This is among the best calendar views that I've seen.
Like that. Yeah.
Super complete.
It's about to get redesigned with filters and a lot of other options. So this is our basic version at the moment. So I go to the booking first, and then I'll show you the rates and availability calendar afterwards, if that's okay. We've got the second multi-unit calendar that I was talking about. So within the booking, we've got this overview of how far the guest has got in completing the booking. So what happens is that whenever the booking comes in, we'll have an email ping out to the guest that you can customize this, but by default, that's what we provide people. It'll show them what steps have to be undertaken, which have been undertaken, and which are yet to be undertaken. So the full thing is basically confirming guest details, payment, secure deposits, and then guest verification, which is basically signing terms and conditions and uploading ID. And we do that through an integration with Signable at the moment, although we'll be working on bringing that into our guest portal, which we're starting to research at the moment. So the email will say click here and they get to this confirmation link where you can see the information that's already held on them in the system. you'll see the email address is blanked out because it's a forwarding booking.com email address, which is a no good for us. So they'll be forced to enter their real email address to be able to proceed to the next step. And then down here, we've got GDPR compliant marketing opt-in consent. For those who might be listening from outside the EU, it's a Data Privacy Act in the EU, which applies to EU citizens traveling anywhere in the world. So even if you're in the States and you've got someone coming around from Europe, you're obliged to protect their data according to this European law, which means you can't market to them unless you've got this this consent basically to start with. And so all these guest details will feed into the booking, but also into the built-in guest management system, which you can then export a database of the ones who have opted in and link it up to MailChimp or send it through Zapier to MailChimp or something like that for your email campaigns.
So this is like the first example of what you meant by you're a direct booking focused.
Yeah, exactly. And also the emails that go out, you'll have a header and a footer where you can have prompts for people to book direct. You can have a link to the website and regenerate the website. I'll talk about that a bit more later. So there's lots of ways that we keep sending people back to book direct. As part of this process, we're also upselling just three things really at the moment: early and late check-ins and late checkouts. You could upsell early checkout. I've never seen anyone do it. And basically for every property, you can specify the times at which the prices would be free or whether that be a charge. Let me see if this one has a charge set up on it. So you see, let's say you can't check in before 1 p.m. And then if I say 1:15, it'll tell me you have to pay an extra £30 to check in at that time. So if I go ahead in the second step, in the payment step, it'll ask for payment for whatever balance there is on the booking plus any add-ons that have been added on. The way our payments work is that we link up with Stripe, SagePay, we've now rebranded to Opeo, WorldPay, PayPal, and you can choose, you can have multiple routings if you want for various deals with various owners and so on and so forth, but we never touch the money. So it's completely down to you. You're not paying us any per transaction fees, for booking fees. We've just got our subscription that we charge for on the various packages that we offer. The money can also be collected by bank transfer, depending on what settings you've set up. So you could display your bank details on here. The guest can download an invoice right at point of payment, so they don't come chasing you for one of those to be sent out manually. You can also automate it with the post-checkout email as an attachment. So this is just a sample of what the invoice would look like. Sorry, there's an overlay here of green on green, but you have your logo down here. Again, book direct prompt, pay now link that takes you back to the 3D Secure link. And all the payments that we collect are via 3D Secure. Again, there's a new EU regulation called PSD2, which is for safer payments, which is kicking in as it is already kicked in partially, but as of March next year, it'll be obligatory, which means that you have to ensure that the card holder is the person who's paying. So that's usually via two-factor authentication or with a password through the bank and so on. And that helps fight fraud and chargeback significantly. The next step would be the secure deposit, where you can have, depending on the channel, if the channel has already taken the payment of the deposit, then we tell the guest it's completed, so they don't have to go through that again. But say if it's set to host collect, then the secure deposit would come via a link again. The guest can choose whether they want to use the same card as they paid with or a separate card. And then according to the timeline that you've set, say 2 days before arrival, it'll get pre-authorized at that point, or they get prompted to enter the card details again if it doesn't go through. And then you can keep that until say 3, 4, 5 days after departure, whatever the setup is that you wish to keep. And within that time, if you've got an issue, you can come under finance and charge the deposit within Zeevou, so it'll get logged in your profit reporting. It can get sent through to Xero, the accounting software that you integrate with. You can have an automated email go to the guest to inform them the deposit's been charged and the reason for the charge that we entered in the system as well. And the last step is the guest verification, which is basically the one that requires a bit of manual intervention, and that's by design, because we don't want details of key collection to be sent out to guests without you even noticing that the bookings come in, basically. So there's this one manual intervention which basically asks you to look at the terms and conditions that the guests have signed, if it's something you require, verify the ID, any other checklist of things that you want to look at before you hit this verified button. And then, of course, again, you can customize all this in the triggers of the emails, but basically the idea is once all of this has been gone through, then check-in instructions can go either on the day or X many hours before, whatever conditions it is that you decide to send them out in. You can do various things like, except for the automated emails, you can send templates that you've set up in the system. So if you've marked them as favorite, they'll show up here. All you have to do is select one and click send. We've got the ability to send text messages, to add tasks and notes, or send emails from here as well. You can add attachments to bookings. You can schedule for cancellation. Basically means you're trying to resell the night. So for example, on booking.com, it's something that happens quite frequently when they're not paying. So you don't want to lose the opportunity to get another booking in. So you schedule it for cancellation. Within 24 hours, you can actually cancel it. And within that time frame, we will have sent renewed availability to booking.com, to all the channels. That means you can actually start looking for another guest to come in. You can
if they're replying to a SMS, where does that reply go?
I'll show you in a moment when I get to the unified inbox we've just launched. So the SMS is through click send. So it depends. In some countries they can reply back, in some countries they can't reply back. It's something that we can't influence, unfortunately. You can easily extend the booking as well. So that would mean that all the guest details are carried forward and the secure deposit is extended until post the new checkout, depending on the timeline, basically. The channel will change by default to direct extension. So the system knows not to calculate the commission to booking.com, which was what the original booking came through. You all have to set, when they're going to check out, this is the extra price, override it or not. Send a payment reminder to collect that payment, save, and you're basically done. You can also split a booking. So say there's there was a leak or the room hadn't been cleaned properly, whatever. I need to move them to another room. I just select, when the split's going to happen and which unit, if there's one available, I'm going to send them to. And that will basically create two halves of the booking. It'll look at the pro rata amount, well, the nightly amount that was actually booked for that night. If you choose to keep the price the same, will get allocated to the owner, or as we call them, the investor of that specific unit system. Again, so your profit reporting at the end of the month is taken care of automatically.
Cool.
We've got a nice little change history that shows what changes were made to the booking and who made those changes. So if I spot that there's something that isn't right, I know which staff member to go and talk to train them again down the line, or if there's just a query as to why something is the way it is, you can go and find out more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got these recurring invoices for longer stays. You can have weekly or monthly invoicing. So we actually also have developed an option to have monthly rate plans, which means you can use Zeevou for long-term stays like 6 months, 1 year rentals with a fixed monthly invoice amount rather than a monthly amount that depends on the number of nights, which is what you usually get in short-term systems. So it works for short-term, and that's what it's designed for. But if you're doing extended stays, it works perfectly for that as well now. Any questions on this part?
No, pretty impressive though.
Complete.
So this is the rates and availability calendar that I mentioned earlier, was the second of the two multi-unit calendars. So you can see again property, unit type, and then we go into rate plan. So we actually have multi-rate plan functionality as well. So you could have, as I was mentioning, nightly, weekly, and monthly. In this case, there's only nightly rate plans showing, set up rather. But you could have multiple of these running in parallel. You could have a rate plan with a specific minimum stay and another one with a higher minimum stay, for example. Right now, we don't have cancellation policies built in. So if you had multiple cancellation policies, you'd have to have two rate plans set up, and you can send those to the channels as well.
You can send different. You can send different rate plans to different channels.
You can certainly do that, but you can also send multiple rate plans to one channel. So not to every channel. Airbnb, for example, doesn't support it, but Booking.com does. So you could send 2 rate plans running in parallel for the same unit type.
Really?
The same account.
Wow.
So you could have like one with breakfast, one without breakfast, for example. Again, changing rates is very easy, just drag and drop. We've got the option to set stop sells, stop check-ins, or hotel background. People will recognize CTA, close to arrival, close to departure terms as being more familiar. we've tried to translate them into something that makes sense for everyone. But you can set these. You can also override previous ones in case you have multiple conditions set up. You'll see the minimum and maximum stay requirements. There's no maximums here, so you'll just see the minimums on the top left corner. And you've also got color-coded availability. So the more units you've got empty as a percentage, the redder it becomes. And when you're close to sold out, it'll show as green. We've got the ability to create promotions based on different conditions. You can link up vouchers with those promotions, and voucher codes can be sent to guests. You can set limits as to how many times it can be used or who they can be used by. We've also got this bulk rate creation feature. So if you're not using something like price labs or beyond pricing, which the majority of our customers do, you can come and manage things through two systems. One is, well, three actually. One is the calendar that I showed you with drag and drop. One is this bulk rate creation feature. So you can select anything from an entire area within the city down to a selection of specific rate plans or multiple things across multiple cities. And you just say when you want it to start from, when you want it to run to, what your base is going to be, extra guest price, min-max stay, again, the restrictions, and you can also come and do things by day of the week. So you can say, for example, I just want to hike my weekend pricing on this one. And then what we've developed more recently, if I can find it, sorry, I still have to find my way around this new menu. We've released is rate rules. So these basically apply as not market-led, but dynamic pricing in terms of different conditions. And being able to change things like rates and restrictions and manage direct bookings from other channels, again, something that ties in with the focus on direct bookings. So you've got your one-off or annually repeating event, and then you can say, for example, 4 specific days of the week, if the occupancy level has gone above 70%, 3 days before arrival or whatever you like, you want your price to change, to increase by 50%. But you want to cap it, you don't want it to go over 80% if you've got multiple rate rules firing at the same time. You can manage things like length of stay, so you can use this to set sort of cutoff points for bookings. You can use it for early bird discounts, last minute promotions, and feed through to all the channels on your direct bookings. Or you can say you only want it for a channel, not for direct bookings. So say you've got an event in town and you want to block out all the channels and only keep your direct calendar open. Then you, the other way around, you turn off your direct bookings and you apply stop sell to all the channels.
How many of your clients use your rate plans instead of a pricing tool?
I don't think many use it instead. So this is, you see the pricing softwares out there, they can't do things like what I just described, doing filter by channel, for example.
That's the reason I asked the question, because this is more advanced than what you can see in a lot of these pricing tools.
Yeah, so the only thing we don't have is the market data input, really, the fluctuating base price.
Right.
And we're about to launch a partnership with Price Labs on that. So it'll be included in our standard price.
Really?
For a rolling 30-day period for free. And then if people want to upgrade to our highest plan, that'll come in conjunction with a full Price Labs subscription as well.
Very impressive.
Okay, that's pretty much the rate setting. We can have things like add-ons. You can create your custom add-on types, so you could have tours or breakfast or whatever, and then these can be used, I'll show you in a bit if we have time, in all the financials of the way you break things down. You can specify if you want investors to have part of the profit, none of the profit, where they cost it, not whether you've sold it, and various bits and bobs like that. Coolio. So we went through the bookings. Should I tell you a bit about the users in the system and how we set those up?
Sure.
Let me just start loading all these pages. What else have we gone through? So as I was mentioning, these are just lists of bookings. Basically, you can get a list of pretty much anything, or reports, as the fancy name is in various systems. So all the bookings that you've got, you can filter these by various criteria. So you could have, arrival, departure date, check-in, check-out date. You can filtered by names, including X, Y, and Z, or by property, or by city, or whatever you, oops, sorry, press the wrong button there. So you've got all these different filters. You can arrange which filters you want to show, which ones you don't want to show. You can rearrange your columns as well for the grids. You can export all of this to Excel CSV files if you like. We've got the option to save a view with set filters. So for example, this one will only show me the bookings where the property is set to Heathrow Airport Apartments, or whatever I said at the time. We've got the option to bulk import bookings. So when people are moving over, we've built 2 tools to help have a smooth transition. So you can import all your previous data, and that means you'll be able to run your reports retrospectively as well to see your performance over time. You can also import future bookings. We'll automatically pull in Airbnb and Booking.com bookings via API for the future. So you really only need to include direct bookings or bookings from other channels, and then going forward, once you've hooked up, they'll obviously feed in automatically. We've also got an import listings tool where you can have a spreadsheet with basic information on the properties, and then that will feed into the system, so you don't have to create them all one by one. Yeah, nothing too exciting in this one. Unallocated bookings and scheduled for cancellation I mentioned earlier. Profiles. So if I go into a guest profile, a corporation profile, staff profile, show you a bit about what we have there. Oops. Let me close this tab. So the guest profile, you'll see ID verified or not verified. You've got various options like creating a booking, logging a payment, communicating with the guest. You'll see a list of their bookings, list of their payments, any notes or songs that you've left with them. You'll notice there's a balance here across all their bookings. So you know if they're still owing you something. Corporation, similar to guest profile, except for it sort of sits one level above. So you can have multiple guests within the corporation. You can have contacts or your office contacts that you're dealing with. You can also keep a note of who it is on your end that's acting as an account manager for that corporate customer. Again, payments are managed at the corporation level if the booking is said to be, we've got an invoice to sort of field where we say that this booking is to be invoiced to the corporation or to the guest. If it's to be invoiced to the corporation, then the balance will be affected and the invoice will have the corporation details on there as well.
What's that activities tab?
Sorry?
The activities tab, what is that?
Activities would be if you add a note, for example, it'll show down there, or if you add an attachment. So it's basically almost like a corporate customer CRM, similar to the guest one.
It reminds me of Infusionsoft that I use. I say that in the best sense of the comparison.
I've not used that one. I hope it's a good one.
It is. I've used it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So in the staff profile, so you can create teams. So you could have like marketing, sales, reception, whatever, and then you can assign people to various teams, and the teams can be assigned to properties. So you say, you know, this team should have access to X, Y, and Z property. You don't have to keep reassigning new staff as they come on board. And then you can have different levels of access depending on the role or roles that you give them. So for example, housekeepers can't see financials of bookings, but they can see number of guests, arrival, departure dates, task details, and so on. As I said, you could have multiple organizations on one account. You can also set availability. This, at the moment, it's just used for cleaners. In the future, it'll be for different types of staff as well. So you can have full or backup availability, and that's taken into account when we do the task assignment. You can record staff leaves that'll update the availability. Housekeepers can actually request it through the mobile app that we've got for cleaners. Companies, if you've got outsourced cleaning companies, and then you can assign a manager to that company and they can log in and deal with their own tasks. Now we move on to the investor side of things. So you create an investor profile. You can set various access levels for those investors. You can give them whether or not you want them to have a login and what you want them to be able to see. It could be an individual or a corporate, whether or not they're registered for VAT, sales tax, basically. and you can keep track of the personal details. And then what you do is you have your deal templates, which set out how you're working with various investors. So it could be that your investor is the mortgage provider, or it could be the arbitrage owner that you're working with. So you can have fixed costs, or you can have a management fee that you're charging if you're managing for them. You can have a combination of these completely customized with your own formula using all these different variables. The nice thing is that you can actually create your own variables. So you can have like certain types of expenses or certain add-ons with an add-on type or an expense type, and then you can use that in your management fee calculation. So it's extremely flexible. Yeah.
How do you know which properties are associated with this investor?
Yeah, so this is just a deal template. What we've done is we've split the deal template from the actual deal. So once you've created your deal template, which you could be using with multiple investors, you then come and set up your deal, which is basically the contract you've got with a specific owner. So it could be for one property, or it could be for multiple, actually for units, because property would be the block, and then it could be for specific keys, apartments, and that. So you'd come and you'd say for, within Cambridge City rooms, I've only got rooms number 11 and number 9 on the timeshare, whatever, for X investor. That's the investor profile. That's a deal template I want to apply. Start and end date. If there's a fixed rent involved, how much that is, or a fixed monthly management fee, say how much that would be. And then you can also hook up the tax schemas with Xero that we integrate with for those to be sent across. You can use custom bank account information, or you can route funds to go straight to the investor's PayPal or Stripe account for bookings that are made for those units. And that'll override your defaults, the brand's default. And basically what happens with all of that, let me show you some of the reporting. We're working on bringing in a Google Data Studio-based sort of business intelligence platform into Zeevou as well at the moment. It's very early stages. I'll just show you to give you an idea of what it looked like. In the meantime, I'll open up one of these. So I just need to put in some filters for this to start calculating. So we've got the occupancy report, which will show me for a selection of, again, one or multiple cities, or you can drill down all the way down to the unit type for the specified time period, what the occupancy levels have been. Sorry, I'm requesting a lot of information at the same time, so it might take a second to load. Let me just have a think about what else I haven't shown you. I can talk a bit about the integrations in the meantime.
In the inbox.
In the inbox, yeah, sorry. I'm not going to load that for now, so I don't make these go any slower than they are. So integrations, we've got integrations with the payment providers that I mentioned, with Xero, Zapier, which basically opens up a world of different apps that you can connect to, a couple of thousand or million or whatever they have on there. We've got Keynest for key management. We're just about to start testing the integration that we've developed with Remote Lock. So that'll give access to all of their locks, things like August and EL smart locks and so on. We've got Signable for the guest verification. We've got people like VR Scheduler for task management. Obviously, lots of channels. Okay, so this one's loaded. So you can see we've oversold some nights here. That's why all those unallocated bookings were showing. Let me see if I find a more interesting city. There we go. So you can see different days of the week, or actually every day on the month or the period you've selected for, color-coded, showing number of units booked, total number of units, average occupancy across all of that. And then you can also mix and match multiple cities or subsections of cities. So you can say
in the profiles area, you can decide who gets certain reports and how.
In terms of staff members?
In terms of investors, sorry.
Investors would only get reports linked to their own properties. So, so basically, investors will see this report that I'm showing you now, which is the profit report. but they'll not see the full thing. They'll only see whatever relates to them. So for example, if you're selling housekeeping on top of the booking, and you've not said that the share of that profit should go to the owner in the way that we set up that deal template earlier, then they won't see it. They'll just
Wow.
see the booking income.
It's impressive.
So we've got lists of bookings. What we do is we chop things up by check-in date, end of the month. So you'll have pro rata amounts for what actually accrued in the month. And then you'll have any add-ons you've sold, how much you've made from those. Again, if there's a split of profit between host and investor, that'll show here. Penalties are things like secure deposits, but again, you can create custom penalty types. Like you could have one for smoking, you could have one for furniture break or whatever you want. So you can analyze your income from various types of deposit charges or cancellation penalties, for example. And then you'll have your refunds, a list of your expenses. Again, you can have custom expense types, and then you can allocate expenses to those when you're entering them in the system. And you'll have a summary. In this case, it's not very interesting because it's an own property, sorry. You basically have your accommodation income, income from other sources minus expenses, and then both sides will show. In this case, there's nothing on the investor side, but it'll show the breakdown of who's made what.
Is this basically like an owner statement at the end of the year, at the end of the month?
End of the month, but yeah, it works real time. So whenever you go in, you'll see it. And then the investor can log in and see it as well if you've given them access. And you can export as Excel or PDF, or you can go and view the investor profit report version, which in this case is not showing you much because there's nothing there. Let's see if this one's loaded. So this is what we're working at the moment. So you've got things like income by channel, by country, booking status, lead times. One question that I asked a couple of weeks ago was, how do our check-in times vary by day of the week? There we go. Sundays, late arrivals. So you'll be able to pull various reports. We're just finalizing what we want to pull out, and then you'll have all the KPIs.
That is so impressive. Again, it just goes above and beyond what you see in a lot of like pricing tools.
So flexible.
Yeah, that's great. Can we talk about your distribution? What it looks like?
Sure, the channels.
Yeah.
So we have API connections with over 200 channels. Pretty much every large channel you've ever heard of, with the exception of TripAdvisor, because they don't seem to be bringing any bookings anymore for most people. So we haven't bothered with that one. You can use iCal for them, two-way iCal to block dates. Whereas for everyone else, we have rate and availability pushing and booking retrieval. For Airbnb and Booking.com, we've also got, let me switch to the inbox so I can show you that actually. We've got the messaging API as well now.
Now, you white labeled a channel manager, didn't you?
We work with various distribution partners, some of which are white labeled, some of our connections are now direct with, so for example, we've got Google Hotel Ads, which we've also made available in our free plan.
Is that a direct integration?
Yeah, Google is one of the direct ones, for example.
It is. Okay. Now, where are most of the bookings coming from for your partners?
Depends on where they are. Europe, it's mostly Booking.com, Airbnb. North America is mostly Airbnb, VRBO, and direct. I think in all cases, people who are on Zeevou are really pushing to get more direct bookings.
Okay.
So this is a unified inbox that we've developed. So you can see there's a thread of the communications, both outgoing and incoming. You can see the brand that it's gone from, or if it's an individual who sent a message, you'll see which staff member sent the message. Oops. And you can see an overview of the booking, whether they've paid or not, whether the secure deposit's been pre-authorized or not. You can easily copy the address, for example. You can go into the booking to view more. And you could reply now. So for example, this is Booking.com API messaging. This would be an email. Sorry, not sure what's happened there. Let me reload. This is still in beta, I must say. And you can have automated triggers at preset times, and you can specify. Actually, maybe that makes more sense if I show you that as well. It's actually one of the parts of the system that is most scary.
No, these triggers, are they both email and SMS triggered?
Yeah, so you can trigger either email or SMS or API or a combination of them.
And those SMS are two-way.
SMS are two-way via ClickSend, where they allow it to be two-way, yeah. So for example, this is one I was mentioning earlier, booking confirmation steps that goes out when the booking comes in. You can see there's an email template and SMS template. So you've got all these different system variables that you can use. You can use your own HTML design if you don't like the default that we give. Again, you've got things like book direct prompts that you can enter and they'll automatically pull into here into the invoices. And some of these we've coded with various conditions, so you don't end up having 1,000 templates. You have one template and it works for all your properties. Check-in instructions, for example, you've got a field within the property where you enter your check-in instructions and they get pulled from there or from the unit level if you've got additional things for that specific unit. That template can then be managed through a trigger rule. So we've just done one, for example, for Halloween to go out to everyone in the coming days. So in the trigger rules, you can set as many conditions as you like. So this has to be a checked-in booking 1 day or less before departure date for these properties. Send this email template or send this email and this SMS and or this messaging API template. You can include attachments like invoice, house manuals, or check-in guides. You can CC users or custom email addresses, and you can specify if you want to go to the lead guest, to the person booking, or to both. You can also.
So the guest is not logging into any portal. This is all going through the email or the SMS.
Yeah, or to their Airbnb chat. So if you use a messaging API template. We haven't gotten a guest portal yet as such. We've only got these different processes and we're about to start combining them all in one place. So you can also restrict by time frame if you want, based on the property time zone, in case you're managing things across the globe so people don't get pinged at midnight.
And then so plugging in a guest guidebook app would be the best solution?
So you can either have a link or you can have an attachment. But once we have the guest portal, we will have our own guidebook built into that.
Okay, cool. Wow.
If this guest were already verified, you'd also have a verified tick next to that. You can click and go and see more. Okay, I'm just getting a bit.
What other third-party tools are most popular with your partners?
Dynamic pricing, communications, guest vetting. I think those are probably the top, and payment integrations, of course. I think that's what pretty much everyone.
When you say communications, you mean like the property care, like VR scheduler?
No, like text messaging. A lot of people use text messaging. And
so that's a plugin.
Yeah. And ClickSend are about to, well, they keep saying they're about to, but they've said in Q1 2022, they hope to bring WhatsApp on as well. So then we'll also be integrated with WhatsApp Business. Oh, and Xero is a big one for accounting because we're very strong on the accounting breakdown. So we integrate with tracking categories and tracking codes. We can push through not just income, but also expenses. So one of the big questions is, how do you handle things like Airbnb invoicing? Well, you invoice for the full amount, and then you have an expense for the commission that Zeevou will generate automatically for you, an expense for your Stripe fees, which will generate automatically and will feed through to Xero. And you can specify which accounts you want those to go to. You can have multiple Xero accounts. You can route things by investors to different accounts and so on and so forth. So it's very flexible on that side of things as well. In terms of check-in management, so you can see the bookings. If I load all the ones I've got left for today, you'll see the ones that are at the top will have blank arrival times, blank email addresses, or dummy email addresses, which means we haven't got their details yet. The ones further down have already gone through the booking confirmation process, so I'll see their contact details and their timing. I'll be able to see if it's been assigned to someone, if it's a meet and greet, for example, phone numbers. If I want to edit something, I just double click and use inline editing without having to go into the guest profile and into the booking.
Love that. That's just such a tiny thing that makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. Email addresses, again, you'll see we've got all the direct ones now. Number of guests staying, channel, when they're leaving. Sometimes people think they've paid for an extra night, so it's just good to double check how many people will be coming, how long they're staying, if you've got them on the phone or checking them in person. And then you'll see color-coded, payment, secure deposit, signable, and ID verified or not. You'll also see whether or not it's a, let's see, I'm struggling a bit now with this zoom level, or what is it? Let me just refresh and go back and hope it goes back to 10. So we've built some booking warnings into the system. No, it doesn't want to go back to 10. Okay, let me filter by. Oops.
It's a booking warning right in the middle, right over to your left.
Sorry, oh, there it is. I was looking for the scroll bar. So booking warnings, weekly bookings flag up. Under minimum age bookings will flag up depending on what you've set in the system. Last minute bookings will flag up. So these are all flags that you can check, and you'll see leisure, business, same city guests will flag up. So you can review all these flags before verifying the guest. So it's not just about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And for those people who follow Airbnb, what's it called? Also for Airbnb Automated, I forgot to show the rate rules. We also have something adjacent nights, which Sean had asked about, which is basically where you can drop your price before a Friday night that's booked on a Thursday. So that, again, that's something you won't find anywhere else.
The 3 stacked dots there on the right, what is that?
Let's just go to view the booking. If you've got warnings, you can turn a warning off. So once you've reviewed the warning, you can decide to hide it.
Okay.
And you can also have various tags. Like, for example, these people are people who've had breakfast or something booked, which we'll show here. Departures. This is one of the very USP type things in the system. There's a 2-step departure management. So once the guest's actually checking out, okay, so you need to know who's in, who's out. Okay, so you can easily come and check out a guest. In the future, once they have a guest portal, they'll be able to check themselves out. But that doesn't mean you're done with the booking. So we've got this concept called finalization. So what happens is once the guest is checked out, you can go and ensure that the housekeeper's been in, not report any issues, everything's fine. They're paid, they check out fee charge or not. And you can, once you're happy with all of that, you can come and finalize the booking. So once you finalize the booking, that'll release the deposit if it's not already gone through the timeline that we set. So if you're your 5 days post checkout, for example, deposit will go to the guest, and the invoice will be marked as finalized, so you can't edit that booking anymore, and will be posted through to Xero. And at that point, you can then do the reconciliation with your payments.
The deposit you said to the guest, is that the security deposit?
The security deposit will be released back, yeah.
That's automated.
Yeah, I mean, if you've said that it should be released, 5 days after departure, and you forget to come and do it, then 5 days after departure it'll go. But if you come and do this process earlier, then the deposit will be released at the point that you're sure that everything's fine.
Okay.
And so similarly, you'll also have like canceled bookings or no-shows show up here, so they don't just completely disappear, but your finance team knows how to handle them. So I've got to show you housekeeping maintenance within 10 minutes or so. I don't think I have time to show you anything on the PMS side. Didn't show you much on the integrations. Marketing we haven't done. Reporting we did. And the financials, yeah, not extremely interesting settings basically. So in terms of the housekeeping, we look at cleaner availability, checkout and check-in times, travel time between properties, average housekeeping time per unit type, and then we automatically assign to the cleaners that are available in order to optimize the time allocation. The cleaners will have a mobile app that they can they can log into. Once they start a clean, we log their time and the location. You can get them to upload pictures of every room. You can make it mandatory if you like. And when they finish the clean again, you'll know when and where they finished. You'll have timestamped photos and or videos of what they've done. So if you've got an issue yourself, or if the guest comes with a complaint, you've got documentation of what's happened with those cleans. And
is this done through VR Scheduler?
No, this is our cleaning app.
So what's your integration with VR Scheduler? How does that work?
VR Scheduler, you can manage a variety of tasks, but this is actually our built-in system.
This is
So
your
we've
native.
got a built-in full housekeeping man. The only thing we don't have is checklists, or this is what the room should look like guide yet.
Okay.
We'll bring those in the future. And then basically the maintenance issues can be reported either manually or through the app, and you can manage those in Zeevou. You can't currently push those back out to a maintenance person, but we'll be working on that as well in the coming months. And then basically you can go and review, duration of the clean when it happened. If any issues were reported or not, you can see the pictures of all of that as well, and where they cleaned. I showed you the departures. So integration is just an idea of various apps that you can use. We've got a WordPress plugin, which I forgot to mention. A lot of people use that on their websites when they want to have a bit more customizability. So the websites that we provide at the moment, they're fairly good. We've got very advanced SEO on them. It's not just a booking engine, so you can create custom pages, you can run your whole blog on it, you can log reviews, you can customize your website menu, you can add things like WhatsApp buttons or change colors and font styles. But what we're starting to work on at the moment is a completely new design. And at the same time, well, not at the same time, after that, we'll be starting to work on a multi-template and drag and drop builder functionality where you can actually customize fully how you want things to work.
How many of your clients use your website builder as opposed to their own website?
I don't have stats on that. What tends to happen is that larger operators or operators who use, it's not necessarily scaling. People who've already invested in a website before they come to Zeevou tend to keep the website. A lot of people who just come to Zeevou will just use the website that we provide. I mean, it's very comprehensive. Sorry?
New clients then?
Yeah, new clients usually. I mean, everyone will use it as a booking engine, but some people will use it as their only website.
Right.
Others will just use the plugin to redirect. So, I mean, I can run a search very easily. I'll see list of properties, very similar to Airbnb. Okay, everything's unavailable. Oh, sorry.
Your new website builder, you said when you're building these templates, is that going to be WordPress website?
No, that's completely within Zeevou. We'll have a drag and drop website builder within Zeevou. So just to give you an idea of what we have at the moment, what we're doing right now is we're sprucing up the design and increasing the website speed and improving some SEO even further. So we've already got some rich data and snippets and so on, but we're adding quite a few to those. We've got integrations with Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, so you can fully track your ROI with different goals set up to see how far people get and where they're dropping off. So you'll have your different unit types, reviews, communities, descriptions, and so on. And then people can easily reserve. Basically, you can specify which of these fields you want, whether you want the phone number or not. Pretty much, you just need name and email address. And that means that you get the guest details without asking for payment. And after that, they're led to continue with the payment.
I'm going to have to pop up here in a few minutes, but before I leave, I did want to say how mind-blowing this is. Like, it's incredibly robust and customizable in a not completely overwhelmingly technical way. Like, when I started using Infusionsoft, it was a learning curve, but once I understood the capabilities, it's just become a complete game changer, and I see so many similarities. Congratulations. It's like really, really impressive.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we're working at the moment on building various wizards, like on Airbnb, that guides you through creating property, for example, to make things easier on onboarding. We're working on importing listings from Airbnb, various things. Some people find it slightly challenging just because it's such a huge system. I mean, you can basically run your whole life on it. But once you get up and running, you can do a lot with it. Yeah.
As broad as it is, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to pop off, but would you mind just giving a summary of what you felt was most impressive overall for viewers of the Keystone stuff?
How dynamic is it? Although it's huge in scope, it's so easy to understand is what I like about it too. And yeah, I could take you back into some of those different modules that you were going through, but to have all that information just in one screen and easy to understand it's the best I've seen so far.
Thank you, Derek. I won't take too much of your time. I mean, there's various parts of this that I didn't even start talking about. But if anyone's interested to find out more, I think they'll have got a flavor by now. And you can head over to our website, zeevou.com, and just click on free demo, and you'll have a one-to-one session where you can ask any questions that you might have.
And just keep up this is an amazing platform. So just keep going in the right direction.
Thank you. We've quintupled or sextupled our development team over the last year. So this is just the start. That's where we're coming.
I know we could talk for another hour, but this one really impressive.
Thank you very much for your time, Ted.
Okay, take care.
Speak soon.